to play it. And so I think his main attackers really are going to be Lycanroc and Tapu Lele this matchup, along with his own copy of Buzzwole.
Yeah, it's really interesting because normally in a situation like this, Dustin could say, okay, well, you know, I'm just not going to attack with my Zoroark. It's weak to everything. I don't want to mess around with it. I'm not worried about it. But Zoroark is not only an attacker in this deck, but it's also so key to the consistency that Dustin cannot really afford to just not play any of them. Like, he really needs to be able to trade. That's kind of what his deck is based off of. We talked about earlier how you're even making some amount of concessions in your deck list in order to, because you have Zoroark and you can trade every turn. But when you put a Zoroark-GX on your bench, you know, Lycanroc, Bloodthirsty Eyes can kind of get him. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Dustin navigates this game.
Yeah, and Pablo, with not playing the Zoroark in his deck, he actually is playing a 2/2 Octillery, which combos great with Brooklet Hill, I think. Being able to get any of your attackers and your support Pokemon with one stadium for free, essentially every turn. Granted, it will help out Dustin a little bit in getting Rockruffs out, but that's it. There's nothing else you could really get with Brooklet Hill.
Yeah, definitely. Pablo definitely going to help Pablo more than it helps Dustin. Looks like the players are just taking a minute to get set up. I do think that it's going to be, like we said, an uphill battle for Dustin here, but the interesting thing is that just the power of Zoroark-GX can maybe make that not a problem. Like, Dustin's deck is going to be very, very consistent, and maybe he can just set up one in the early game and be willing to let it get knocked out, but, you know, just value the couple turns of trades he's going to get. And maybe he just is able to set up his board so well because he can trade so often that Pablo just can't deal with it.
And granted, it does take Pablo multiple energy to knock out a Zoroark-GX in one hit.
Yeah, it's not something that he can just do easily. I do think that, you know, Zoroark is not going to be a very good attacker. It's going to, you know, the ease of which that Pablo can knock out Zoroark is going to be tough, but it does require multiple attachments. It's not just free for him. It is going to require a little bit more effort.
Yeah, and with both of these players being such big names in the community, it'll be interesting to see if they actually know what each other's playing, if they have kept up on like Pablo's videos or Dustin's tournament results kind of thing, to see what their strategy to the start of the game is going to be.
I'm sure,
especially for Dustin, just because usually you bridge it for multiple Zoro, stuff like that.
I'm sure that both of these players are aware by now. You can't really enter into a tournament without knowing what your opponent's playing at the fourth round when you're playing against a big name like Pablo.
All right, and this is Pablo's prize cards. 2M, kind of doesn't really look that bad.
Yeah, the Octillery is not great, but besides that, nothing huge there.
Like, everything in there he plays multiple copies of, so it's something that's not really going to deter him. Kind of the same with Dustin, but the strong and the fighting might come into play.
Yeah, this deck already doesn't play a ton of energy. Again, you can afford to play lower counts of things because of Zoroark, so 2 energy prize is going to be, could come into play here, and I think we're actually off with Pablo going first.
Yeah, and to be fair, Dustin only plays 5 like fighting energy producing only. Like, all right, so Pablo goes first. Ultra Balls, discarding an N and a Sycamore, and he already has that Remoraid on the bench. It's something he's definitely going to want to prioritize in setting up, just so he can play the long game.
Yeah, like we said, Octillery is prized, unfortunately. I don't know if Pablo plays 2 copies.
He does, yeah.
So he does play 2, so he'll be fine on that front, and that's going to let him, the Octillery is going to let him just be more consistent in the mid to late game. So definitely good start by Pablo, just taking a minute to look through his deck and figure out his prizes.
It's definitely the one thing you always want to do with your first search of the game. You want to know what you have access to for the rest of the game and kind of make your game plan around it.
Yeah, that's something you'll see that kind of separates top players, I think, from maybe newer players or players who don't have as much tournament experiences. Depending on what's prized, that can change so many decisions. That can change the way that the game is played entirely. So having...
and wow, looking at Pablo's hand, it is amazing. He Ultra Balls for the Buzzwole, Strong Energy, Choice Band, and then a Sycamore, not discarding anything, getting 7 brand new cards.
Yeah, that was just perfect there. He even has the Strong as opposed to the Fighting, so he's able to boost his damage a little bit.
And the Float Stone to retreat the Rockruff.
Yeah, he's even going to save this Rockruff from any potential nonsense and just pass the turn back. So yeah, pretty great start there from Pablo. He has, you know, his Buzzwole's already threatening. Even has the band and everything. That Rockruff is sitting on the bench just waiting to be evolved into a Lycanroc. And now the pressure's really on Dustin to respond.
Well, he does have a Tapu Lele able to Wonder Tag, most likely for the Bridget. It's kind of been the staple play, turn one play that we've seen from players. But
yeah,
you can't really get that much in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm actually interested to see what Dustin does here.
Well, he has to know that active Zora is getting knocked out.
Yes.
Not being able to go first in this match kind of really hurts, especially starting a Zora. You're basically already giving up a free prize.
Yeah, Zora being weak to fighting doesn't help. And Dustin is going for, it looks like, 2 Rockruff and a Zora, which is about what I think you would expect. Again, you can't fill your bench. Ooh, it looks like he might go for the second Zora, actually.
That's interesting.
He's debating it, but
yeah.
You can't fill your bench with Zoroarks because they're just such easy knockouts, but you do need to have them on the board. And yeah, you can see actually Dustin's agonizing over the decision a bit. Finally deciding to go with the Zoroark. So just saying, you know, I know these are going to get knocked out. I know that Zoroark's not the best that I can do here, but it is the best attacker I have. You know, it's not like Lycanroc is a particularly efficient attacker, and even if it wasn't, I do need it to start setting up. So, interesting choice by Dustin there. Again, you know, it looked like it was close for him. Looks like he's not totally sure what's right, but is erring on the side of being able to boost his consistency.
Yeah, he definitely prioritizes that tradability, and now he just passes back after attaching a double colorless to the Rockruff. And let's see what Pablo can do. He definitely has more energy in his hand, but I don't know if you really want to put all your eggs in one basket with this Buzzwole, even though he can attach energy now and then kind of knock out later Zoroark, but...
Yeah, it's interesting because this Buzzwole does have the ability to do big damage with Knuckle Impact and even Absorption
And wow,
GX.
Ultra Ball 2 fighting energy away.
Yeah, but it is kind of more of a... you know, a lot of players rely more on the efficiency of Buzzwole, just kind of saying, okay, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to do a bunch of damage with, you know, I'm going to, when you consider that I'm spreading to the bench, when you consider that I have choice bands and strong energies, I don't necessarily need to build up a big Buzzwole. I can just kind of be more, a little bit more energy efficient and attach one to each.
If Pablo actually gets a Lycanroc, he can actually try to take out Rockruff on the bench. He does have another strong energy.
You're just cutting off...
really Dustin's best attacker in this match, I guess.
Yeah, and the energy drop as well. See Pablo committing a second strong energy.
All right, Tapu Lele, Wonder Tag for the Guzman. All right, yeah, he doesn't even need the Lycanroc.
Yeah, he just
save it for later.
And he can also even Abyssal Hand here as well after he plays the Guzman. So yeah, Pablo's start has just been great.
Like, I think this is probably the picture-perfect start.
Yeah, especially being able to cut off your opponent from having a Lycanroc. You're wiping their entire board of energy. Just a really, really powerful start by Pablo.
And he draws more energy, max elixir. He has gone through a few. He discarded 2 and has 2 in his hand. But wow, 3 in the top 6.
He does hit getting that Rockruff set up. And it is, you know, Lycanroc is not a horrible attacker. It's totally serviceable. The GX attack Dangerous Road can be a huge game, so putting that energy on that Rockruff there is not a huge downside at all.
All right, we see the Jet Punch from Buzzwole-GX taking the knockout on the Rockruff and 30 on a Zora. It kind of forces Dustin to evolve that Zora too, because if he doesn't, it's just another free prize down the road.
Yeah, so Pablo there not only took out Dustin's energy, he not only took out his only Rockruff, he not only took a prize, but he's also putting pressure on Dustin's bench, saying, okay, well, I'm just going to, you know, bury you in prizes if you don't immediately evolve this Zoroark. I'm putting, you know, Pablo is putting pressure on Dustin from multiple angles, and he really, really needs, Dustin really needs to be able to respond here. You see he's promoted Tapu Lele, which is a totally reasonable attacker. against Buzzwole. Unfortunately, does not apply weakness.
Yeah.
So it's not as good as something like the Mewtwo you were talking about. But, you know, at the end of the day, Dustin just doesn't have a whole lot of attackers that can really hang with a Buzzwole.
Yeah, if he brought up the Zoroark, it just gets knocked out with another energy attachment from Knuckle Impact. And there we see the Zoroark come down from the Ultra Ball, deciding what to trade away. And this is kind of the thing where I don't know if I can really give up this many resources.
Yeah, he does have a rescue stretcher to get back that Rockruff, so that's going to be helpful for him. But something important to note is that Pablo used a Guzma last turn to knock out the Rockruff. He did not evolve into Lycanroc, so he still has another kind of gust effect waiting, assuming he can find a Lycanroc next turn. So yeah, there is the
Ooh, and an Enhanced Hammer coming down from Dustin, taking out a strong energy from the Buzzwole-GX, kind of delaying Pablo's like overwhelming victory right now.
That would be 4.
Yeah, I do think that strong energy is big here. These decks run a lot of fighting, or a lot of, sorry, I do think that Enhanced Hammer is big here. These decks do rely on their strong energies quite a bit. I do think Dustin has 2 copies of Enhanced Hammer, which is not exactly going to be enough to, you know, kind of shut Pablo
But there
down
we see
or
the
anything.
multi-switch coming from Pablo, just bringing out a Knuckle Impact from nowhere with the Choice Band and the strong energy. He's going to be able to knock out this Tapu Lele.
Wow, yeah, so multi-switch, a card that you don't see all that often, but you have seen it in these decks. We've seen people experimenting with it a little bit recently, and it can be a huge game. I mean, look at that. Dustin felt confident saying, okay, I just, you know, Enhanced Hammered away your energy. I'm cutting off a little bit of damage even because it was a strong energy. All right, I'm feeling good about this. And then he just got multi-switch. This Tapu Lele is getting knocked out this turn, and Pablo is just kind of continuing to increase his advantage.
Yeah, we kind of have seen the regular energy switch being played a lot in the past. It's kind of fallen by the wayside, and multi-switch has the special ability to move any energy, not just a basic, but it only goes to your active.
Right.
So it's really a great utility in these fighting decks that play strong energy. It's essentially adding an energy to your active and increasing its damage.
Yeah, it's just a really great card for this spot. It's really cool. I think it's kind of an interesting deck building thing too, where multi-switch hasn't really been played. Hasn't really been popular, but when you look at it, you can kind of say, okay, you know, this is the right spot for it. This deck actually wants it, and I think it's really important to just not write off cards completely like that. So that's what you see some of the best players do, is they'll just kind of find these little hidden gems.
All right, so Pablo finally got down to Brooklet Hill, and we got a glimpse of his hand there. There's 2 Max Elixirs, and if he hits both of them, this Buzzwole on the bench is also going to be charged up.
Yeah, let's see. It's like a miss on that one.
You're not able to get strong energy,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. One of the downsides of playing strong energy.
What if there's a multi-Max Elixir? All right, Abyssal Hand does draw him 3 cards. He does have a Lycanroc if he chooses to do something, but I think knocking out the Tapu Lele is just the play right here.
Yeah, I don't think he's too worried. That second Max Elixir does miss, though.
Was it 2 you discarded earlier?
It's fine. Everything can't go right for Pablo. It needs
Right.
a little downtime.
All right, so if Dustin can respond to this with a riotous beating and a full bench choice band, he can take a knockout here. Looks like Pablo might be actually considering.
Oh, the GX attack. So that way you can actually attack next turn in case his Buzzwole survives.
That's smart. So he can actually take a knockout here. Start pressuring Pablo, leave him without any energy on board himself. So maybe there's an opening here.
Yeah, and the Absorption-GX definitely is the better play just because it gets worse as you take more prizes. So it's attack that you kind of want to use early.
Yeah, it was the right thing to do there. Just Pablo saw that it wasn't getting any better for him.
So here we actually see a great utility card in Zoroark decks is Mallow. Being able to search your deck for any 2 cards, put them on top. Kind of a like, why would I do that? Just get it next turn. But with trade, you can just draw into him that turn. Search your deck for any 2 cards.
Yep, you just get him immediately, and we see another interaction that's popular with Mallow is Puzzle of Time, which it looks like Dustin's considering putting 1 on top. which just kind of gives you such card advantage, right? You play one supporter, you get the exact 2 cards you need. If one of them's a puzzle time, you get any 2 cards from your discard pile. It just gives you such great selection that it's just, it doesn't, you can just basically get any card that you'd like. You can prepare for any situation.
Yeah, he actually has 2 puzzle times in his hand already. And so I think we're definitely going to see that choice band double colorless from Dustin here to try to take this knockout.
Yeah, so there's the trade discarding, and it can be kind of like a little bit weird to watch players play with trade because cards just hit their discard pile
Exactly,
and they start drawing cards. But
usually they kind of point to it. It'll definitely be weird to see throughout the weekend. And there's the double colorless and the choice band. Riot beating for the knockout. Now there is no energy on Pablo's side of the field. He's already played all of his max elixirs, I think, right?
I believe so.
Or at least 3.
Yeah, he's played at least 3. So yeah, he missing those 2 max elixirs last turn did hurt. It left Pablo without anything on the board. And again, you know, this is just the power of Zoroark, right? Zoroark was able to take a knockout there. It is just a fine attacker. Yes, it's weak. Yes, it's very fragile in this matchup. But he was able to respond and basically, you know, not even up the prize trade, but come close, right? Against most other matchups, this would kind of even up the prize trade since the 3rd prize use doesn't matter. With Buzzwole specifically, you are taking non-EX knockouts more often, so not quite as good as it would be, but Dustin definitely is right back in this game.
Yeah, the thing is, though, Pablo doesn't really have a way to take a knockout on this Zoroark this turn. So that means Dustin's going to get another turn of utility with trade, with dealing 150 damage with Zoroark-GX.
And this is can be one of the powers of this Buzzwole deck is that the Lycanroc has now set up that Zoroark. That's going to get knocked out. Put Pablo to 2 prizes, and then, you know, if Dustin wants to take a knockout here, that's fine. It doesn't, or if, sorry, he's not even going to be able to take a knockout. But if Dustin wants to put pressure on, that's fine. All Pablo needs is another 2 prize knockout.
Exactly, and we might even see Pablo put the 30 damage on the Zoroark to where he can get a combination of like strong energy and choice band to take the knockout the next turn.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's just so many options that this deck can kind of. I hesitate to use the term inevitability because it does require a lot of setup. But I mean, just look what just happened there, right? Dustin kind of crawled back into the game, and then Pablo said, all right, well, whatever. I'm just going to put myself down to 2 prizes, and even if I stumble for a little bit, you can't really one-hit me reasonably, so I'm just going to take 1 more 2 prize knockout at any point in this game.
Yeah, and usually the way Dustin would come back from this match is to take out the energy on Pablo's side of the field, end him down to low number, but with the Abyssal Hand from Octillery, kind of really can't do that.
Yeah, also important to note that all of the energy on Pablo's side, I guess it's just the 1 now, they're not susceptible to Enhanced Hammer, just basic fighting, so Dustin doesn't even have that option available to him.
He does still have the 2 puzzle of times hand, so it'll be interesting to see what he tries to do with those.
Also important to note that it's not, when I say 2 prize knockout, it's not even just a single knockout, but it can also be, you know, I'm going to knock out this Zoroark on your bench, and then Jet Punch the Rockruff on the bench, or sorry, the Zoroark, and then Jet Punch the Rockruff on the bench. That's 2 knockouts as well. That's 2 prizes, even though it's not on a big EX or GX Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. It also forces him to try to evolve this Rockruff to a Lycanroc.
Yeah, just kind of applying pressure from multiple angles is the name of Pablo's game here.
All right, so we do see the 2 puzzle of times. I don't see. Oh, you got back with the Lycanroc and a double colorless.
Correct.
All right, Bloodthirsty Eyes bringing up the Tapu Lele, kind of hoping he doesn't have a way to get it out of the active.
Last turn, Buzzwole attacked Zoroark, right?
Oh, 6. So this was on the bench.
Yeah, I attacked the Zoroark.
The Zoroark
No.
died and this took
Yeah.
30.
Oh, I think they're just trying to decide
I
where
think
the
the
30
judge is
damage came
confused.
from.
Yeah, this is actually fine. Everything is right on the board.
All right, so bringing up the Tapu Lele, he won't get the knockout with the Zoroark.
He will because he played Kukui.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah.
He will actually be getting a knockout here and putting himself in the 2 prizes as well.
All right,
This
we
has
see
actually
it.
been a closer game than I than I originally
exactly.
anticipated. Zoroark, the power of Zoroark is just very, very evident.
Dustin's attacked twice.
Yeah.
All right, so we see Ultra Ball getting another Zoroark. That means 2 trade abilities available to him.
Yeah, and now Dustin is kind of, not only does he want to evolve his Pokemon, that's something he actively wants because he doesn't want them to get knocked out with a Jet Punch, but now he's just kind of free to evolve in his Zoroark because he says, okay, whatever, you have 2 prizes to take, you're going to take them either way.
And unfortunately, with Zoroark's Riotous Beating, you do need to have a full bench to maximize its attack, so he will have to bench another Rockruff. Maybe it might be a liability down the road, but we'll see. He does take the knockout on the Tapu Lele, and now it's all tied up, 2-2 prizes.
Yeah, the next EX or GX knockout will win here.
And there's something we haven't talked about is the Regirock-GX, adding 10 damage to all your fighting Pokemon attacks.
Yeah, we didn't see that at all come into play in this game, but that's kind of one of the things that can, in my opinion, is like a little bit more gimmicky, is a little bit more silly. It's still the right thing to play. I'm not, calling Pablo out or anything, but it's just funny to me that just doing 10 extra damage is just so important in this deck.
The great ability with it is you could search for it with Brooklet Hill, like you just did, and it also means with a strong energy, you can Jet Punch knockout on a Rockruff, say. Like you could deal 60 damage.
Yes.
All right, and there's the last Max Elixir from Pablo. It'd be huge if he can hit this fighting energy, but no.
Looks like he missed.
He has gone 1 for 3, or 1 for 4.
And now Dustin is presenting a knockout on basically anything if you can find a fighting energy for that Lycanroc-GX to Dangerous Rogue-GX.
Oh,
Next
yeah.
turn, it looks like
Unfortunately, I think his last 2 prizes are strong and fighting. Kind of makes it a little hard right now, but he does have those 2 trade abilities available to him.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many he's gone through, but yeah, it looks like Pablo's going to pass the turn. So now he is making Dustin, if he wants to do that, have to have a.
So he has the Ultra Ball. Bloodthirsty Eyes bring up a GX Pokemon, or EX.
Yeah, bring up that Regirock.
And he has a Sycamore in hand. So Sycamore, along with 2 trade abilities,
yeah,
he's going to go through his whole deck.
All he needs is a single fighting energy here.
And coming in this matchup, a severe underdog.
Well, it's like he
No
actually
fighting
missed.
there.
He does have trades though. He does have trades.
All right, first trade, 2 cards. No.
Oh, he misses again.
All right, this is his last chance right now. Trade. No.
No, he missed again. Wow.
Wow.
Oh, wait.
Energy Lotto.
Yeah,
what?
He's actually Energy
Oh my
Lottoing.
God.
He does it. Wow.
Oh my gosh. Dustin Zimmerman, Energy Lotto for the game.
I'm not gonna lie, I genuinely didn't recognize the art there. Wow, that was.
Pablo's just shaking his head. He knows this matchup is favorable for him, but Energy Lotto pulling it out for Dustin
Yeah, you can
Zimmerman.
just see the pain on Pablo's face. Just not only is it a favorable matchup for him, but that position where it's just, oh, he missed off the Sycamore. Okay. Oh, he missed at the first trade. Missed on the second one. Oh, Energy Lotto hits.
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
Heartbreaking game 1 loss there for Pablo, but still maximum of 2 games to be played in this match. Pablo can definitely still come back here.
Yeah, and I think Dustin attacked 4 times that whole match.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could see Pablo's obviously frustrated. I think he hit some unfavorable luck.
What a first game to start the start our stream with.
Energy Lotto is a big game. I like it.
And we kind of see, because a lot of these like Lycanroc decks, they either choose to play 1 Energy Lotto or 1 multi-switch. We saw both come into play effectively in that first game, but Energy Lotto putting it up on top a little bit.
Yeah, that was I mean, it saved Dustin there. It's not like he was, certainly going to lose the game or anything, but that was a great play there, and just let him take a game 1, what I think is an unfavorable matchup for him.
Yeah, he also had like 20 cards left in his deck, and then he goes Sycamore, trade, Energy Lotto.
Yeah. We did, in fairness, this deck, because you're running double colorless and you're kind of interacting with Zoroark in that way, you are running pretty small amounts of energy. I think he only runs
9.
2 fighting, and is that right? And 4 strong.
I think it's the other way around. 3 strong, 2 fighting, and then 4 double colorless.
Yeah, 3 strong, 2 strong. So he only does have 5 outs. And
all right,
speaking of which,
the prizes for Pablo, He does play, I believe, 13 energy. But
Nothing too relevant in either player's prizes. Those energy could come back to haunt Pablo, but
he does play a lot more compared to Dustin.
yeah. I thought those were Dustin's prizes at first when I first glanced at them, and that would have been pretty horrible for
So
him.
here's one card that we didn't see come into play at all either, is Sudowoodo with its Watch and Learn attack. It's really just that copycat attack that we see it a lot present in the TCG, but being able to use your attack from the opponent's last turn, it kind of just the perfect Zoroark counter. Riot Beating will do like 120 damage, all right, that's good. Well, I'll Sudowoodo knock out your Zoroark because I'm fighting.
Yep. Watch and Learn also good against Gardevoir. Just generally kind of an interesting card, especially if you don't have to actually attach twice. Like you can Max Elixir onto it, kind of surprise.
We see it a lot with counter energy a lot too.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
All right, Max Elixir does hit. So Pablo has a 2 energy turn 1. 2 Buzzwoles kind of getting charged up. That was one thing that kind of slowed down his game. Like we were saying how his first 2 turns were great. Like that's what he wanted. But he only had energy on Buzzwole, and that was it.
Yes, missing, having no energy after on the board after Dustin was able to knock out that Buzzwole-GX was the beginning of the downfall for Pablo. He was able to recover a little bit there, but if he would have had even 1 energy on the board, he would have been able to have a much stronger response. And if both Max Elixirs had hit, I think Pablo would have just ran away with that game.
Yeah.
So definitely committing energy to the board, especially basic energy, which Dustin, I know he has an Enhanced Hammer in his hand, cannot knock off, is going to be really important.
Yeah, unfortunately, Pablo did not get a Remoraid out. He did not have access to Brooklet Hill or anything like that. So his draw engine might be a little bit slow to start up, but Dustin, on the other hand, Wonder Tag turn 1, Bridget, classic.
Yep, Dustin committing similarly to last game where he's saying, I do want multiple Rockruffs out, but I do just have to face the facts that I'm going to be playing with Zoroark in this game. You just have 3 Zoroarks on the board. Also, a concession to the fact that one of these Zoroarks is likely getting knocked out next turn.
And we see he's debating about the double colors on the Tapu Lele. He could be going for that play he did before where you soften it up with Tapu Lele's energy drive and then come sweep it up with Riotous Beating.
Yeah, the problem is you can't really attach it anywhere else because it's just going to get knocked out. It's not a guarantee, but it's very likely. Wow. Well,
multi-switch coming in again.
As it turns out, this is also going to get knocked out. So,
and this punishes Dustin's play from attaching the double colorless now, to where he's like, okay, I'm going to lose the Zorua. But now you lose your energy attachment and the attacker you're going to use this turn.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, you know, he's considering playing it at all. If he's going to attach it, playing it on the Tapu Lele is right. It's not going to get knocked out. And then Pablo proved us wrong.
It's interesting to see, though. I haven't seen the rest of Pablo's hand. I don't know if there's any other supporter or if it was just the Guzma. I know there was 2 strong energy in his hand, so there's 1 left. But without the Octillery, he might not have enough to like recover if something does happen, especially with Buzzwole not being able to attack next turn.
Yeah, hopefully between the 2 prizes and drawing cards to start his turn, it will be okay.
Those are 2 good cards for Dustin, Field Blower and an Enhanced Hammer. So it kind of takes away the Guzma option to free retreat the Sudowoodo, and you lower the count on the Buzzwole. But bringing up the Sudowoodo resets the Buzzwole and to be able to attack. So it'll be interesting to see what the line is going forward.
Yeah, I think looking at Pablo's hand, it looks like he actually does not have any supporters or really anything to do with just energy and choice bands. So again, this is the power of Zoroark, right? Dustin is just he has 2 trades this turn. He's just getting so.
I think he's going to go for the 3rd one. He has an Ultra Ball in hand.
Yeah, he just has so many options to draw cards that even if you have a big fighting weak Pokemon, even if your deck's a little bit more fragile, Dustin is just powering through his deck. He's thinning out his deck of the bad cards. He's drawing all the cards he wants. It's just displaying the power of Zoroark-GX here.
And he's really debating. He could either play the Zoroark, he might Ultra Ball it away. And he just decides to pass. He wants to leave the Sudowoodo active. And wow, Guzma off the top for Pablo right now. His hand was going nowhere. And now with this Guzma, he's going to be able to take a knockout on a Zoroark if he chooses to. Or even the Lycanroc, right?
Yeah, he's going to take any knockout he wants. That Guzma was
that was
great
big.
draw. Yeah, Dustin's just going to, it's actually just going to prompt the concession from Dustin. I think that's right. He knew Pablo's hand wasn't great. He didn't know about the prize cards on the top of his deck. Those are 3 unknowns, but he knew his hand wasn't great besides that. And he was just relying on, fading a great draw from Pablo. That didn't happen. Pablo had a handful of energy and was able to take a very quick game 2. Now, I don't think that's necessarily as dominating as some of the games, as the game should go, but I think the matchup probably lies somewhere in between game 1 and 3. I think it's a little bit more favorable for Pablo than it was in game 1.
And now we're going to see something that we haven't seen is Dustin's going to go first. So, granted, he might lose his Zoro turn 1. That's kind of a given.
Yes.
But he'll be able to evolve his Zora into Zoroarks. He'll be able to evolve into Lycanrocs before Pablo can get really set up.
Yeah, he'll, like you said, have the disadvantage of getting knocked out almost guaranteed, but he will be able to be a little bit quicker, which may help him here. I think I'm really glad we're going to a game 3. I think this is going to be pretty interesting. It's unfortunate for Dustin that it had to happen on those turns where he was kind of,
the bloodthirsty eyes kind of backfired against him.
Yeah, just needed a few bad draws from Pablo, but didn't quite get there. But 2 great players, 2 of the best in the game right now. 2 players that I think you would not be surprised if they won this tournament. And we're going to see them play here in round 4.
All right. They're all set up for game 3.
Good luck.
There's the handshake. We can probably get going. And Dustin's going first. I don't see what he started with, but he does have the Bridget.
Yeah, so he has a Rockruff active. He's going to go ahead and start with a Bridget. Doesn't need to Tapu Lele for the Bridget, which can, as we saw last game, can be quite the disadvantage. Just having an EX Pokemon that can get surprise knocked out.
And starting the Rockruff here is actually good for Dustin.
Yes.
It means Pablo has to kind of do a little more to take a knockout turn 1.
Yeah, Rockruff not fighting weak, so not as easily knocked out by an early Jet Punch. Still can be knocked out. It's not out of their own possibility at all, but...
Thanks to the aid of Regirock.
Yes, but definitely a better starter.
And looking at the prizes, Dustin has a few energy, a couple Ultra Balls. Might be something bad to see later on in the game. And he actually has the Tapu Lele too. Decides to bench it just because, if it doesn't get that surprise multi-switch knocked out, it's a pretty good attacker against Buzzwole.
Yeah, now he just gets to kind of use it as an actual draw supporter for next turn. Doesn't need to worry as much about using it for Bridget. He has a Sycamore in his hand, and it looks like he's going to take an N there. Just kind of saying, okay, I'll want to N in a lot of cases, especially if you take a knockout here. And if for some reason I want to draw more cards, I can just Sycamore.
And strong energy on the bench Rockruff, kind of, you don't want to put it active, definitely. And Pablo's hand's kind of interesting. So he has the Tapu Lele, so he won't be forced to discard his hand with the Sycamore in his hand. Because he also has Octillery, but it depends what he really needs. He can get Bridget or something like that, but yeah, Sycamore.
No, I think the Sycamore is fine. He's not. He did consider it for a bit. He is giving up a little bit there in that Octillery, but he does play a 2-2 line of Octillery, and I don't think he needs to play quite as conservatively to like bench a Tapu Lele and then N or something that also kind of effectively gets rid of the Octillery. So I like the Sycamore there from Pablo.
All right, Brooklet Hill, and who needs to bridge or anything? We just Brooklet Hill for the Regirock-GX instead.
Yep. Bridge Hill also giving Pablo the ability to look through his deck and again determine what is prized and kind of let that influence his actions over the next couple of turns.
I kind of want to see a Bedrock press sometime this weekend. I think it would be pretty funny.
I think we're unlikely to see a Bedrock press, but I don't think it's impossible.
Come on, like double max elixir multi-switch.
Yeah, it's unreasonable.
Yeah. All right, we're going to see the Jet Punch for 60, knocking out the Rockruff. He might play this max elixir attached to another Buzzwole, try to get set up, but he will be taking the knockout this turn.
Yeah, I think you might as well play the Max Elixir. We saw that spreading out the energy, having multiple
Hey, he got it.
was really convenient for him in the last game. It really hurt him in the first game, so I don't see a huge reason not to.
All right, so this is kind of the same thing we saw before. 2 energy, turn 1. He does not have a Rockruff out, though, so he will not have access to Bloodthirsty Eyes next turn. But now we can see what Dustin's able to get going. He does promote the Rockruff with the strong energy.
So we did see something kind of interesting in Pablo's last turn where he Sycamored away a Rockruff, I believe, instead of benching it. And I think he's trying to play around Dangerous Rogue-GX. He knew that he was going to have to, if he wanted to get the knockout, play the Regirock, and then he knows that he wants to set up another Buzzwole, and having 4 bench Pokemon would let Dangerous Rogue do 200 and actually take a knockout. So kind of a subtle thing there where he's just kind of cutting Dustin off of that option.
All right, here's the Energy Lotto from Dustin. He really needs a few cards this turn. He needs to find the double colorless. He needs a Choice Band and a Lycanroc to take a knockout with his GX attack. But looking from his hand, I don't know if it's really possible right now.
Fail.
And yeah, he chooses not to grab anything with Energy Lotto, I believe.
Yeah, missed with the Lotto there, it looks like.
I ever see a Field Blower getting rid of Brooklet Hill. Used it and they're like, all right, I can't use this anymore.
Yeah,
I'm going to get rid of it because it helps you so much.
Now that I've gotten my advantage out of it, it can go away.
And then we see a Sycamore because remember, he does need multiple cards, but I don't think I see, yeah, there's no double colorless in his hand or the Choice Band either.
He does have the...
He can Ultra Ball for a Zoroark-GX, try to trade into some cards.
Well, he can use the strong energy to Dangerous Rogue because it'll actually take a knockout. It'll be 150, 170, 190.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Strong.
Okay,
so
yeah.
he doesn't actually need a double colorless to Claw Slash, so that's fine. It's also possible that he doesn't want to commit to that. It looks like he is finding a Zoroark off of that Ultra Ball.
So that Sycamore is actually perfect for Dustin then. The strong energy and the Lycanroc.
Bloodthirsty Eyes, the Buzzwole on the bench.
There's a Bloodthirsty Eyes.
I kind of like that because he does have the Enhanced Hammer, so it just gets rid of both energy on Pablo's side of the field.
Yeah, very heads-up play by Dustin there, just activating Bloodthirsty Eyes. Again, we saw him win Game 1 by knocking all the energy off of Pablo's field, and this is what he's doing again. And now he has a big Lycanroc that unfortunately has kind of used most of its potential. Lycanroc's not a great attacker outside of the GX attack, but he has a Zoroark on board, and I think the game could obviously go either way, but Dustin is feeling really good about how these past few turns have played out.
And yeah, there's another Sycamore discarding 2 ends and a Lycanroc from Pablo. And wow, is there no energy in that Sycamore? He has a Max Elixir, but that's it?
Yeah, Max Elixir, and he also has the Octillery, so he can do some things here.
Draw 2.
All right, let's see. This Max Elixir is able to hit. It does. So we can attach to a benched Pokemon. Considering either the Buzzwole or the Rockruff, decides to go with the Buzzwole, favoring just being able to be a little bit more consistent in executing his game plan.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Pablo really needs to attach this active just because he wants to attack this turn. If he passes without attacking, that's huge for Dustin.
Ooh, and it looks like he actually did miss again. He does have another Max Elixir, so he can start getting his bench set up a little bit more if he hits, which he does. But yeah, without a way to retreat, I think he's just going to be passing the turn back.
If I'm Dustin right now, I'm fine with that turn. I'm like, okay, you can do whatever you want on your bench, as long as you just don't attack me right now.
Yeah, and Dustin did have a strong energy prized, correct?
I believe so. Or no, I think it was Pablo this time.
Trade.
Oh, correct. Yeah, actually correct. So Dustin can find something like strong Choice Band to take the knockout here.
Is the Kukui.
Oh, Kukui as well. So Kukui will He still needs to find an energy to attack with, which he actually does have.
So
he does need
he'll
a
be doing
choice band
170. Yeah, he still
yeah,
needs.
He still needs the choice band here, but Kukui helps him not have to specifically find the strong energy.
And I believe he already did trade for the turn.
170.
Yeah, I think we might just see a Claw Slash.
Yeah, so it looks like 170, 130.
Should be 150, right? Claw Slash 110 and then 2 strongs.
Plus the Kukui, right?
Oh, plus the Kukui.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
it should be 170.
I'm sure they'll get that corrected. Now, what can Pablo put together here? He does have the multi-switch.
And another big Sycamore discarding a lot of resources. He does have a strong energy he can play, but okay, there we go.
Looks
They
like
realize the
they're
damage now.
correcting that now. Okay, perfect.
Dustin gives the finger wag. Then.
Overall, like, not too relevant, I don't think, but like, it's always a little bit stressful when they have the damage on the board wrong. Can actually really come up any error like that.
And yeah, unfortunately for Pablo is with the choice band on the active Buzzwole, the float zone in his hand can't help him right now because he would have rather, you know, not play the multi-switch, float zone the active, retreat.
Right.
There we see a rescue stretcher.
It looks like that's going to find a Lycanroc.
I think you just take out a knockout where you can, right? Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, your Buzzwole is getting knocked out, unless I'm misreading Pablo's hand, but he has no way to move anything. He may as well take a knockout, get down to an even number of prize cards, cut Dustin off of the second Zoroark, and add some pressure to the board.
And yeah, so we saw the strong energy on the bench Buzzwole-GX and Ultra Ball, most likely just thinning out his hand, right?
Yeah, thinning out the deck, yeah, I think so. I think the one disadvantage to this play, I still think it's right from Pablo, but what the downside is that with that Zoroark with a Float Stone now, Dustin can control what he sends up, so he doesn't have to risk any of his important Pokemon getting knocked out, especially with that Buzzwole having so few remaining hit points. He can, send up a Tapu Lele and just hit it for 60 and take a knockout, and still have...
To be fair, though, Pablo is threatening a knockout on the Tapu Lele next turn.
He is. It's just that it is not Tapu Lele, or whatever one Dustin decides, he can kind of control that, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
Is all I mean, is that he can just decide which one gets knocked out.
I think what would be pretty great right now is if Dustin finds his own copy of Buzzwole.
Yes.
Which is something we haven't seen in this match either.
He just plays the one copy.
Yeah. All right,
Well, he does have a Bridget in his hand, so he can go for it.
But unfortunately, he does not have a fighting. He only has that double colorless right now.
Oh, you're correct. And I think he only, again, Dustin does not have the most energy of any deck, so he has to be very aware of that, especially energy that produces fighting.
Yeah, with decks like this where you take a lot of 2 hits, you have to really think a couple turns ahead, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, you have to think about what you're doing and then how your opponent's going to respond and then how you're going to respond to that. Especially in the decks that don't play like Max Potion, Acerola stuff, because I think playing with those decks or against those decks, you can kind of rely on that happening and form a different game plan. But when you're confident that most of your damage rather is going to stick on the board, you definitely have to think about how the next couple turns are going to progress.
So this makes Dustin's choice actually pretty easy because he traded into another double colorless, so he's able to sacrifice this like Tapu Lele essentially to take the knockout. He's like, okay, if you have the energy, you knock me out with Knuckle Impact anyway. And he actually drew the Buzzwole off the trade, which I think is kind of ironic. There we see a rescue stretcher. Most likely just getting one back. You'd rather have the Zora on the bench.
Yeah, you already have the Rock Ruff rather, and You just want to set up the Zoroark. Most importantly, I think that's just going to turn on Riotous Beating in the future turns. He wants to have as full of a bench as possible for that.
He actually discards the double colorless and the Buzzwole with Sycamore.
Yeah, I think that can kind of get you in. Having the Buzzwole on the bench can kind of get you into some trouble.
Dustin drew another Enhanced Hammer. So again, just kind of denying Pablo the ability to take these one-hit knockouts with Knuckle Impact.
Yeah, this has been a great turn of events for Dustin. He's going to take another knockout here and get down to just 2 prize cards remaining.
Now, the only thing really threatening this Tapu Lele is the Lycanroc.
So,
thankfully for Pablo, he does have a replacement Float Stone. And yeah, Guzma's up. The Lycanroc, 3 energy, will be going down thanks to Dangerous Rogue-GX.
Yep, Pablo going to use a GX attack of his own to take a knockout here.
Choice band for good measure. You want to draw more cards with a Abyssal Hand.
Yeah. And going down to 2 prizes, Pablo will be after taking this knockout, kind of evening things up, except for leaving him in a much better board position. We see that Dustin doesn't have anything really going on. He did discard that double colorless last turn, like you said, so needs to find one if he wants to attack with Zoroark, and even attacking with Zoroark leaves him very vulnerable to a Lycanroc KO. So Pablo orchestrating this turn very well.
Both players, honestly. Like, Dustin's turn was great for him. Pablo's turn is great for him. And there we see Dangerous Rogue-GX taking the knockout. Pablo getting 2 energy from his prizes, too. That definitely might come in handy in the future turns.
Yeah, this...
So now it's basically how Dustin can respond.
Yeah, I'm not... So... Dustin is not going to be taking a knockout here. I don't... This is an interesting position for Dustin because I think he can't really afford to attack with the Zoroark. This is going to get knocked out if Pablo has a single another energy. But the Tapu Lele doesn't add all that much pressure, and there are ways that Pablo can maybe find a knockout on that as well. I guess he doesn't have any strong.
Well, if he does have a strong on the Lycanroc.
Oh, he actually will, because he does have the
Regirock.
Yeah, the band of the Regirock.
So it's very risky, and I think Dustin was trying to count, like, okay, how many strong energy have you gone through?
Yeah.
What do you have access to, kind of thing. Because I think the only way for Dustin to go about this turn is kind of soften it up with Tapu Lele, hope it doesn't get knocked out, and then, like, next turn attack with Lycanroc for the knockout. I think that's how this game's going to go, but it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, and with no Rockruff on the bench, Dustin knows that his bench Pokemon are hopefully safe. Guzma, obviously. Guzma energy will win the game for Pablo here as well.
Yeah, of course, with Pablo having Octillery, all bets are off to what he actually can do.
Yeah, Octillery is going to let him put together quite the turn. And yeah, I don't think that Dustin has a whole lot of options that are very good here. He's just kind of hoping not to lose, although this Lycanroc could change that a bit.
All right, Bloodthirsty Eyes. What does he bring up?
I imagine he'll be bringing up... Well, okay. So bringing up the Regirock doesn't do anything. He has a Float Stone on it. Bringing up the Octillery doesn't do much. It is what Dustin's going to choose to do. He can try to put together a big attack with Lycanroc in the future.
And granted, this is all a moot point if Pablo has Energy Guzma.
Yes.
But there we see the Acerola picking up the Zoroark-GX, kind of taking away that easy free prize. Now it forces Pablo to have strong energy and Guzma instead of just an energy like Guzma.
Yeah, just cutting making Pablo have to have a lot more to actually seal this game up here.
But also with that, like, he evolved into Lycanroc, brought up the Octillery. That means Dustin will kind of need a Guzma of his own.
Yeah,
and there you go. Yeah, strong energy Guzma. And I believe that Guzma was off the top too, because I didn't see it in Pablo's hand.
So Pablo Meza going to go ahead and take that match, and what were actually a much closer match than I thought going into it. I thought that Pablo would have a much bigger advantage just based on weakness, but you know, a little bit of bad luck from Pablo, as well as just the power of Zoroark-GX really put Dustin in all of those. It's the second game notwithstanding.
Yeah.
Put Dustin back in much more into all of those games than I originally thought.
Yeah, that last game definitely came down. Like, it was either Pablo's going to win that turn or Dustin might have won the next turn.
Right.
And that's basically how it's going to go. And yeah, it's interesting to see because Zoroark really has a disadvantage against fighting Pokemon. But